WeAreTottenhamTV back here reacting to all your lovely comments once again. And once again, you've been unbelievable in showing support for the channel, interacting with us all week. So let's get in to the best comments.
All right, so let's do this. The first one comes from Pigsy1619. He says, laughing my arse off, 7 months ago Ben was miffed that Spurs wouldn't budge on the $8.5 million to Genoa and was happy to let Jed go for $4 to $5 million. Quote, he's done nothing, let's just get the deal done. Sorry, but anyone wanting Spence moved on shouldn't be commenting about his success and how it eventuated.
Oh boy, you know what, it's like, yeah, I might have said that or not, but are people's opinions not allowed to change over time
well,
when new evidence gets shown?
If you wanted him out, you have to have him out. You want
I hate
him gone.
this kind of thing. Like, I hate it so much. Like, it's not just Jed, but this happens so much with so many different kind of things. Like, if you had this opinion once, you're not allowed to change your opinion ever. What's wrong with changing your opinion when new evidence comes to light?
I guess the point being that you were happy to let him go, but now you're criticising Ange for waiting too long to bring him in.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? When he was part of the squad.
No, I'm just saying that's the point. That's the point of that he's making, I guess. I would say.
And I think it's silly because there's two different things. There's one, him not showing anything when Jed actually showed something during the time when Ange wasn't giving him a go.
That's fair enough. Next one from Connor Fogarty 4336 says Sim has to be the most biased Spurs fan alive. How in God's name does he think we deserved something from that game? This is coming from the same fella who backed us for top 4 this season. Now where are we? Then he said he thinks we'll beat Liverpool in the semi-final of the League Cup. Now where are we? Now he also said he believes we'll win the Europa, which is also absolutely embarrassing and laughable. If anyone thinks we can win that competition, season is done, but let the deluded fans get laughed and embarrassed. Look, I understand that I'm trying to be positive about Tottenham from their season. I think before the season, I don't think top 4 was completely unrealistic. I do think if we didn't have all these injuries and all the circumstances around the season, we'll probably be in that fight for, I don't know, maybe the top 5. I still think would be in that fight if we didn't have the circumstances. But obviously, I can't predict that was going to happen to the extent that it did. In terms of Liverpool, I don't think I ever said we were definitely going to win. After the first leg, I think we gave ourselves a chance. I thought it was going to be unlikely we'd get through that tie, but I would say going into that semi-final, I just had a feeling that maybe we could pull off a miracle and pull off a surprise, a bit like how we did in the Champions League, just somehow get through it. But obviously, it wasn't to be. We were absolutely battered. But yeah, I don't think I was sitting here saying we're definitely going through, and you know we definitely should be going through or anything like that. I don't remember saying that. Maybe I might have said we can do something special, but didn't happen. You have to find, I don't know, maybe there's evidence of me saying we're definitely going through, but
it's just funny what he says there, because it is true. Like, I just remember with debates throughout the season, it's like, all right, we're only a couple of points outside the top 4. All right, it's only 6 games out the top 4. All right, it's only 8 games out the top 4. All right, fine. We're not getting top 4 this year, but we're still in 2 cups this season. We're still in 2 cups. All right, fine. We're still in 1 cup. All right, look, there's still the Europa League there. There's still the Europa League.
It has been a bit like that. It's fair. That's fair. But again, I can't predict how when in terms of the injuries and stuff like that, I can't predict how that's going to go. That's just stuff that happens. And aren't we allowed to change our opinions?
We are allowed to change our opinions.
In terms of Europa League, we are going to win that Europa League. Come on, get on the train. We're winning the Europa. Come on, people. The players are back. We're going full force for this European trophy. It's not deluded to think we got a chance of winning that trophy, in my opinion. Air Africa says there has to be a point we play Tell at right wing for a game. He's just not strong enough to play striker in this league yet. He's going to grow strong this summer, I'm sure, but right now he's not reliable up top because he doesn't offer much holding up or striking. Son or Deki should be up top until Big Dom is back in March, and get Tell one-on-one versus outside backs where he can use his dribbling and pace better.
Yeah, you know what? I don't disagree with this too much. I'm not sure whether it be, I mean, I maybe prefer to see him on the left than the right, but we did see him on the left with that against Aston Villa, but it's still too much of a small sample size to go on. And yeah, you're probably his tenure at Spurs is too much of a small sample size to go on. It's only had 4 games in a Spurs shirt, so I think people need to just calm down a bit on Tel and just see where it takes him. Still a young player coming into a new league. I'm still undecided. I mean, when I first saw him at left wing, I was like, he probably should be a number 9 because he showed more in that particular game. But now I keep seeing in the last 2 games at number 9, it does feel like maybe he should be out wide.
Yeah, I think right wing, though, I wouldn't mind seeing him there just because there's a clear spot there. On the left, we've got Son and Odegaard and Mikey Moore who like to play there. On the wing, on the right wing, I know, well. I get that, but on the right wing, we only have Brennan. And I would like to see how he gets on in a position. We've seen kind of Odegaard more on that side and not been fantastic. We have
sample size though.
No, I agree. I'm just saying we haven't seen Tel there, so I would like to see how he gets on. Also, maybe if we just simplify his game, give him a bit more space, just get him running at people again, even if be on the outside, just see how he does. So I would like to see how he gets on, but I agree. He obviously prefers the left wing, and he obviously prefers playing up front. That's what he's most of the time he's played at Bayern. Although he did play a few games on the right as well, and didn't do too badly. So maybe it's something we can consider, just because we don't really have options right now on the natural right wing. So maybe that's something Tel can think about. But yeah, I think at the moment he's struggling up front, no doubt about it. But it's, give him a bit of time.
But the thing is, right, last 2 games against Ipswich and against Man City, right, he got lost in the number 9 position. There's no doubt about it. He didn't make any impact on the game. But I felt like when he played there against Manchester United, he was actually in and amongst it. He was getting himself involved in the game. He was getting himself chances. Yeah, he didn't put them away, and he probably should have done better in that aspect. But at least in that game, it looked like he did have something about him, and he was getting himself in and amongst it.
And Villery scored.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we got to give him a bit more of a run instead of just write him off. Cowing 8140 says, I can't get when people asking why Son, Decky and Spence all on the bench. When Ange didn't rotate the squad, they still blame him for other things.
100%. And I have been a big critic in Ange not giving Kulusevski a rest, Sonny a rest, and these players a rest. And I get the options were limited, but I still believe that there were options to give them some sort of respite, definitely more than what they got. So I'm not going to sit here and criticise Ange for putting these guys on the bench when I've been calling for it for so long. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think we've got a squad back and we have to use it. And I know it's frustrating. Spence in great form, but we're resting him. Decky potentially one of our better players, and we're resting him, and Son as well. But that's just what we have to do if we're also going to get these other players up to speed so we can use them for the rest of the season at their best. I think that's the right thing to do. And as much as it's frustrating, we lost the game, and it's a difficult one though, because you also want to get to a point where you can criticise selection in a sense that, we should have played this guy, but it's just the way we've been this season. It's more like we haven't been able to, for a lot of the season anyway, we haven't been able to play a team specific for a game. We've been so stuck in, we just have to play players who are available and who are the best fitness rather than specific tactical switches. And hopefully we'll get to that point where, players are right for specific games. You can say, Ange should have started this player or that player. But right now, we've just got to manage the team fitness-wise. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think probably you would say for the last couple of months of the season, we should be there.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I think, for sure, especially if we don't get any more injuries. Dirk Bogard 44 says, these guys always seem to think that paying huge wages leads to success. Man United have had over a decade of paying players huge wages and have done very little, and they've ended up with players they haven't been able to get rid of.
Yeah, and that is absolutely spot on. Big wages doesn't equal success. But on the flip side of that, if you look at the teams that have had success, they usually do have big wages. So it's about how you spend it. It's not about... It's not all, well, it kind of is what you spend, but it's about how you spend it. That's the most important thing. Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. I think big wages doesn't equal success, but you need big wages to have success. Yeah. So it's kind of like, yes, just because we're not spending big money on Casemiro, which is the good thing to do, but you also, look at other players who are on big wages who have signed for big money, and you look at Liverpool, with their main players, Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah, all on very big wages. That's how you attract that kind of calibre of player, and that's what you kind of need to do to kind of catch up to the bigger teams. I think they're obviously what we're trying to do, I'm assuming, is we're playing these players small wages with a view of when they become better, we'll keep giving them incremental new contracts. So I'm sure that's the plan. But obviously, if you want to kind of speeding that process up, you buy players in right away already now on bigger wages. That's how you speed that process.
But this comment here, this commenter is basically using like the worst case example where there's so many other good case examples to use.
Yeah, but you could also maybe the period where Arsenal were paying a lot of bigger wages for for like they gave Ozil big contracts and Aubameyang big contracts. And
you know what? Now I think they're falling into that trap now. You look at their biggest wages spent, right? Their biggest wage earner is Kai Havertz on like 280 grand a week. Their second highest wage earner is Gabriel Jesus. You know, these two players, a lot of Arsenal fans wouldn't mind seeing the back of. And they're going to struggle to sell these guys before the end of their contract because no one's going to come and pay those kind of wages.
Obviously, we did that with Ndombele as well, giving him big wages.
It's all about how you spend it. If you buy the right profile, the right fit, the right player, and you give him the wages, there's no problem in that.
Daniel Hewson 8866 says, commenting off the back of the video with Uriel we did, he says, I'm with Uriel, Levy in. I'm immensely grateful what he's done for the club. As a club, we are better than we were in the 80s. It's about putting the club on a solid foundation. Success on the pitch will come. If we win the Europa, big if, the argument no trophy for 20 odd years goes right out the window. The Champions League final wasn't down to Levy in terms of defeat, but being there was down to him hiring Poch. He later hired both Conte and Mourinho, and everyone was buzzing. They failed, so it was automatically down to Levy, and Conte went as far as to say publicly to mask their own failure. He didn't want to be here in the first place, but Levy convinced him. Levy has the best interest of this club in mind with everything he does, but gets no credit for that because he does make mistakes. But so do managers and players. Ben wants the Saudi or Qatari model, financial dishonesty, and for the club to buy trophies. I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, that's fair enough to you. Everyone has their own opinions on this matter, but I disagree massively with that. And when you say that Levy hired Conte and Mourinho, yeah, 100%. He went and bought big name managers, win now managers, but it doesn't stop there at just buying the managers and letting them do their stuff. You need to give them the tools that they need to go and do the job that they need to do. And for example, when you've got Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho, you need a top class and top caliber defence. They didn't give them the tools that they need to succeed in
Emerson
the job.
and Doherty at wing back.
Emerson and Doherty at wing back, Longley, all these kind of players, second-rate players. You know what I mean? So unless there's no point hiring these managers unless you're going to give them the tools to succeed in the job.
But what about what about what he says that Levy does have the best interest of the club in mind with everything he does?
I think he's got the best interests of the clubs financially in mind, yeah, for sure.
But not the footballing side?
No, I don't. I think if he had the best interest of the footballing side in mind, then the last 5 years we wouldn't have been in the wilderness.
Do you think when he says success, when he says if we win the Europa League this season, the argument of 20 years without a trophy goes out the window?
And it'll be 20. What was it? It'll be 2 in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'll go out the window in terms of we've got that monkey off our back, but it'll be how we act after that, and if we can carry on to keep winning trophies.
Do you think that if we do win that trophy and the trophy talk dies down, what would that mean for people who want Levy and ENIC out in terms of protesting and all that kind of thing? What would if we do win that Europa League, would there still be a demand for change?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think obviously not everyone. I can't speak for everyone. I can just speak for myself. But for me, I think there will still be a demand for change because I don't think one trophy will change that, because any club can win just one odd trophy on the odd occasion. With the club with the infrastructure that Daniel Levy's built, and I give him a lot of credit for the infrastructure that he's built around the club. It needs to be a club that's challenging on a consistent basis and winning more than one trophy in the time of that he's been here.
Ben wants Saudi or Qatari model.
I'll take it.
You take it.
I'll
He does
take
want
it.
He wants it all day long. Matt Blaze 6477 says this Uriel has talked the most sense on the channel I've ever heard. Bale, Modric, Kane, Dele, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Dembele were made world-class talents under Levy, and we didn't have to pay them 300 grand a week like Chelsea and Arsenal would have done to get for them to get here.
What's his point?
So I think his point is, we've got a lot of those talents were high class talents who we would all like to have probably signed now if they were, at their peak.
Absolutely.
And we didn't have to pay, the big wages or whatever to get them here. And I guess the point is the way we do things, I guess necessarily don't have to, spend 300 grand a week like other clubs on certain players to get this kind of talent.
Why did Harry Kane want to leave the football club?
Because we were stagnating.
And why have all these players, these unbelievable players that we've had, walk through the door of this football club? And, credit to Daniel Levy and the scouting team and everyone involved to getting this calibre of player to this football club. But it's an abomination that these kind of calibre of players can walk through this football club and they walk out with nothing.
But is that Levy's fault?
I think, I think he has a big portion of it, because he doesn't. To a certain extent, you're looking at the Poch team, right, where we had all those brilliant players. We pretty much had a first 11, but no squad behind it. We needed always a few extra more to kick us on and actually to push us over the line. We never got it.
But is it a fair point to say, like we always say, we blame Levy for players like Longley and Sanchez, giving them to like other players, but do you ever give credit for like when he signed Modric, on a whim?
I just said I give him credit for these players coming through the door. I literally just said that.
But we never bring that up.
No, we never bring it up. Because we want him to go. You know what I mean? We want change at this football club, and I think we do give credit to Daniel Levy. You know what I mean? I do think he's done good for this football club, but I think on a whole, it's time for change now. I think it's gone stale. I think that he never does enough to push us over that line.
Yeah, I think that's hard to disagree. I think he did so well building up the club to where we are, but I don't know if he knows how to be a big club and how to operate as a big club and get a team that's consistently winning at the top and like a lot of the big clubs do. I think he's too still stuck in that mode of how he was when he thinks he basically was still the same club. That's kind of how he operates, how from when he took over a lot of the time. And I know we have to spend more money, but in terms of like actually when you compare it to like inflation and like how we spend now compared to how we did before, like it's not that change. It's just obviously the fees are bigger because inflation has happened ever since.
We've actually probably got a lower wage bill now than we had when we first moved into the stadium.
Potentially, I have to check that out. But yeah, there's probably a good chance. Probably,
probably. Definitely after the Champions League final, because we signed Ndombele for that big money. We had Harry Kane on big money. We had Sonny. We had all these guys on big money. Now, you look at the wages that we spend now. We've only got 4 players over 100k.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them are like on over 50k.
Yeah, but 50k in this day and age is nothing. Arsenal only have 4 players below 100k.
Yeah, fair enough. Femio Giddon 799 says, what? Irving Scholar almost bankrupt the club. Levy is miles ahead of Scholar. You youngsters are so unaware of what it takes to run a club of this size in a financially responsible way. A chairman who is easily swayed by emotionally driven but financially illiterate fans will have the club on the brink of extinction in a few years, like the excitable former chairman of Leeds. Trophies will come, but the long-term viability of the club is most important.
No one's asking Daniel Levy to bankrupt the club. Like, I don't know what this whole thing is. Like, literally, the stats tell you that in terms of turnover to wages, we're the lowest. We're literally the lowest. So, and everyone compares like when I say about Spurs are paying less wages than Aston Villa and Aston Villa at 97% and whatever, and that's unsustainable. And I completely agree with that. But we've got so much more room to manoeuvre, so we could easily outspend the likes of Aston Villa without even blinking.
Do you think that though we could? Yes, it didn't happen last summer, but if this summer we could easily. Do you not think there's a chance we might increase the wage?
I bloody well hope so. I bloody well hope so, because if Ange does stay on till next season, it'll be his third summer at the football club. And we're going to need to kick on, and we're going to need to fill in the jigsaws, basically, and fill in the gaps. And if we don't, then I think that tells you even more of where this club's at.
Yeah, I think with Lloris, Kane, Dyer all moving on in recent years, that's left obviously a lot of they've been replaced by a lot of younger players and stuff like that, players on a lot of lower wages. There should be a lot more room to get a bit more quality and get a few more bigger signings.
And that, all you need to look at is the percentage of turnover to wages compared to every other club. And you'll see there's so much more room that we can move in.
But what are we asking for in the summer? Are we saying we need, massive, like 200 million investment, or are you saying like just a couple like really good players on high wages? Like, but what do we need a big overhaul, or do we need?
I still think we need pretty heavy investment in the forward line, in my opinion. It depends what happens with Tel, I don't know, but definitely that kind of caliber of signing in terms of the money, like 60, 70 million in the forward line. We need a right winger, that's for sure. If Tel stays or goes, we need another striker, because I think Richarlison, his time at the club should be coming to an end. I think we need a big midfielder to come into the club that can take us on to the next level, for sure. And we probably need another fullback to come into the club as well, assuming that Ben Davies is going to stay here for another year. We can kick the can of another centre-back maybe down the road to the summer after.
So was that 4 players?
January. 4 players, but I think they all need to be significant players.
So, what were we thinking? Like 150 million, 200 million? Is it
over the course of 4 players?
50 million a player is 200 million?
Yeah, give or take.
And what about in terms of the wages? Our wage cap is 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, 100% it's acceptable. But I don't believe that we'll go and spend 200 grand on a player that is coming in the summer. The 200 grand is reserved for players like Sonny, who's been here for 10 years, who's a legend of the club. Harry Kane, who's been here for so long, the legend of a club. Ndombele was the one outlier. We've never done that ever before, and we haven't done it since.
So, but is that not what it should be? Your best earners are the ones who are, loyal and been there for a long time.
Yes, it should be, but it should also, when you're looking at marquee players to come in and make a real difference here and now, and you really believe that these are the players to take you on to the next level, you can also put it for them as well.
But but I guess if I was Levy, I'll probably argue for you sign a player who's coming in at 200 grand a week, who's just joined, then would you get some like a Sonny knocking on the door saying, well, I want a lot more now because this guy shouldn't be on the same as me, and you get a lot of these other players asking for more wages, and that spirals.
Yeah,
potentially.
Well, they would have deserved it. The players that are knocking on the door, depends who they are. If it's like a Bentancur or a Bissouma, then you can say to them, well, I'm sorry, mate, but it doesn't really reflect what you're doing for the football club. But if it is a Sonny, then he would have deserved it.
And Daniel Howson brings up the point you said Villa wages to revenue ratio is 96%, Ben. Do you seriously think that is sustainable?
Well, I think I covered that in the last comment.
Chubba Bate says, I supported Spurs in the 70s and 80s. We did win 2 FA Cups and the same cup that's Europa now under Scholar. But the stadium we have now and the trajectory we're going on, he's doing a good job, although he could spend a bit more. Yeah, I guess we covered that a bit. Yeah, what's the other comments? Sorry, I've lost it. This one from Quinn Lucas. Says WTF Ben WTF what the F is Ben on about with
you're allowed to swear, Sim. You're allowed to swear, don't worry.
Don't want to get demonetized. What the F is Ben on about with fans buying a beer at the game? Going to a game is a big day out, especially regarding the prices of tickets. Let the people just enjoy their time with family and friends. Embarrassing.
Okay, first of all, I was making a joke at that moment in time. And second of all, when Sim pushed back on it, I told him I agree with him. So everyone just needs to calm down a little bit.
Embarrassing. Or Anton Victor as well chimes in, says, On the Levy lovers talking point, Sim is spot on here. For the average person going to a football game, it's a special occasion. You want to enjoy the experience regardless of the result of the game. To say that you can enjoy a beer in the stadium after a loss that you can't enjoy a beer in the stadium after a loss is ridiculous. It's nothing to do with supporting Daniel Levy. But do you think there is, like, you obviously I know you disagree with it, but there is some sort of a sentiment, because we do see it sometimes on social media, these posts being online and a lot of people liking it and retweeting it, and like, what would you say to those people who don't like the fact that people are not there, like, just go to enjoy the day and aren't so wrapped up in the whole ownership and everything?
Look, everyone at the end of the day does what they want to do. No one should be there telling other people what to do. That's just the reality. Like, everyone is on their own path. Everyone has their own minds, and if you want to have a beer, you go have a beer. If you refuse to line the Levy coffers, then that's up to you as well. Like, in my opinion, I don't really care what everyone does. I just find it funny that when after a big loss, the bars are full. And look, it does wind me up a little bit just because of how ingrained I am in the kind of Levy out thing. But the reality is that everyone has their own minds and everyone can make their own decisions.
But did you think there is a truth to the fact that you will struggle to enact real change when, regardless of how bad we're doing, there are people who are still going to basically give a lot of money to the club in terms of drinking beers at the concourse and buying food regardless. So Levy, won't see a hit in how much money the club earns, just regardless of how the club is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do recognise that, but it is what it is. Like, everyone can make their own decisions. We can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think people criticising fans for who've decided to spend their day going to football. Some of these fans you're probably watching, maybe that's their only chance they go to a game a year or whatever. It's not like we're season ticket holders. We go every week or a lot, and a lot of these fans who make these comments as well do. But that's just especially when the club is this size, it's just, you can't expect that from everyone.
Also, on the flip side of that, there are many unbelievable pubs on that high road as well. So go support some local businesses.
Yeah, that's also fair. Last comment is from I'm not sure about this guy's name. It says fan Spurs Chelsea. I'm not. Pick a lane, mate. Pick a lane.
I've seen this guy before. He's a massive Sim stan, and
is he?
I believe he's one of your Aussie lovers.
Well, he's called, you should pick a lane. Take the Chelsea out of the name. I'm not sure why he's called fan Spurs Chelsea. Unless he's a Spurs fan who lives in Chelsea, is that what you're saying? But you're saying he's an Aussie, so is Chelsea his second team? I don't really get the name. I'm not sure about it. But yeah, he might be a Sim stan, because his comment is, Ben is so negative always. Focusing on the first half. Second half was great. Grow up, Ben. Listen to your baby brother, mate.
Look,
always negative.
I call it how I see it. What can I do? Like, I saw some bad things in the first half, which I focused on, but I also credited the second half as well. So I don't know what more people want from me.
You're just too negative, focusing only on the first half.
Look, when you've been a Spurs fan for as long as I have, and when you started off on utmost positivity, and it's just drained and drained and drained and drained and drained and sucked the life out of me all these years. I get positive when I feel positivity coming my way, and I don't feel it that much anymore.
I guess as a Spurs fan, it's like, how many false dawns can we go through before we stop believing there will be a dawn?
You're 3 years younger than me, so you've got 3 years of that
false dawns.
3 less false dawns than me.
Pretty much. But right, yeah, that's all the comments we got to react to. Yeah.
All right, big up to each and every one of you guys that interact with the channel. We'll be back next week with some more comments for you guys. But thank you very much. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as